All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning in to the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So what I'm going to call this podcast is dating bankrupting you? And you may think that's a crazy title, but if you know anything about me, I teach this Mastering Self-Confidence program. It's about helping men find the woman or women of their dreams, even if they've been through a bad breakup or divorce. I also created a book called Wingman that's also to help men find the woman of their dreams. And I did a podcast not long ago, and it's been on my mind a little bit, and it was regarding dating and all the rules. And I talk about this sometimes on my podcasts, my YouTube videos, and a lot in my confidence program regarding how I think dating is wonderful if you're single, right? But I also think dating financially hurts a lot of guys. Now, if you have money to spend, on whatever you want to do, eating out dinners, going out, traveling, God bless, I get it. But a lot of people, especially younger people, I think, men is what I'm talking about more than anything, get caught up dating more and more, and they can't afford the money they're spending going out on these dates, nor should they have to. That does not mean you're supposed to be cheap. So let me get that out. And if you go out with a girl, you want, especially at the beginning, you want to be treating. I just think it's kind of, it's just kind of common courtesy. As time goes on, you want to split checks and do whatever. Girls get it nowadays a lot of times. Now, there are women out there that I do believe use dating to go to some of their favorite restaurants, not have to pay for it. They use men. They also go out a lot of times to drink. And even if they're not with a guy, they go out looking for guys to buy their drinks. Let's stop bullshitting ourselves. A lot of women out there would rather spend money on makeup, hair, their clothes, whatever the case may be, whatever they want to spend their money on, and don't like to spend money when dating. Even though a lot will say, no, I have no problem splitting the checks and blah, blah, blah. A lot don't expect it, and they like it better when a man picks up the check. Of course, I get it. But I'm here to tell you to a lot of guys, one is, you got to set, I think, the tone right off the bat of exactly who you are. And I don't think a lot of guys do this. I think a lot of guys try playing big shot. They meet a girl they're maybe interested in, or maybe meet her online, whatever the case may be, and they take her to an expensive steak dinner, or they may take her for expensive sushi, or take them wherever, a place that usually they don't go to continuously, or they don't visit all the time because they don't spend that amount of money. And then on a follow-up date, they may do the same thing, and they start living to a certain degree kind of above their means with this person trying to impress them, which I think is one of the worst mistakes you could ever make, is kind of becoming something when you date somebody, becoming something you're not, is what I should basically say. So if you're somebody, if you're younger or, even middle-aged, I don't care what you are, you want whoever you're with to understand who you are right up front. That doesn't mean they have to know everything about you or you're supposed to fart in front of them and all this shit. But what you really want to do is, I think, be genuine with your lifestyle. I do believe when you first start dating someone new, though, you should go to different places that hopefully neither one of you were ever at or have been to, just to, start something new and fresh. A lot of times, I've talked about this before on podcast. A lot of people, they meet locally and they go to the same place where they may have went with their girlfriend or their ex-wife, or the girl has been there with her husband or ex-husband or boyfriend. So you want to go somewhere, I think, fresh and new. But put that aside. With the way things are now, I don't necessarily think at the beginning dating is really the way to go. Now, that doesn't mean you can't go out for dinner or whatever. And when I say dating, I mean the same way people have dated for the last 50 years. And I think one of the things was, years ago, there wasn't much to do. If you go back to the 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, 70s, 80s, a lot was geared around going to dinner, or going for drinks, or going for dinner, or going for dinner and then having drinks, and then basically going to a movie for the most part. There wasn't nearly as many things to do that there is to do now. I mean, it's not even a comparison. Also, the way we all kind of communicate is entirely different, right? Through a phone. Where before, you'd go with somebody somewhere. That was the only way you'd communicate. If they went home, you would talk to them maybe on the phone for a short amount of time, depending. And then you wouldn't communicate with that person until you went on another date with that person. Those days are gone. There's a lot of ways you're communicating now. It could be through text. It could be through social media. You know what I mean? You could be sending photos. You could be sending emails. You could be talking on the phone, obviously. You could FaceTime. You could be on your computer. Whatever the case may be, Skyping. There's a lot of ways to communicate with people. But the point I'm trying to make here is, when, especially younger guys, when you meet a woman or somebody you're interested in, or just dating different women, you want to be as realistic as possible when it comes to your lifestyle. So if you usually can only afford to eat at certain types of restaurants, right, throughout the week or throughout the month, that's kind of where you want to be at. Now, if you can only eat Chipotle and Taco Bell and all that, and you meet a girl, I'm not telling you necessarily maybe to take them there unless you want to. Maybe you do have to up it up, go up a little more just to say, hey, I'd like to go somewhere nicer, at least at the first date, and, whatever the case may be. That, again, doesn't mean you have to go to the finest steakhouse or lobster or seafood place, like I said earlier. But maybe that is something you'd consider. But if you can't afford that, then you don't do that. If that's just smart. And a lot of people may be like, especially women, maybe or maybe not, will be like, yeah, he's being cheap right off the bat. Why would I be with him? He's not being cheap. He's being smart and frugal. You're better off with a guy who right, where you stand with him. And you know what he's trying to tell you, this is what he can afford right now. Sometimes a lot of guys meet women that they like or they're interested in, and even that woman or, the girl or whatever may be interested in him, but the guy doesn't even have the money to take them out to do certain things. And he's also thinking, the guy, well, if I take her to dinner one time, or I take her here, then I don't have enough money to follow up, and then I got to follow up on the follow-up. So they dump it. The guy just forgets about it. And the woman could be in the same situation. A lot of women may, be in a situation financially where she doesn't feel confident enough to go out and date, or whatever the case may be regarding that. I'm not a woman, but sometimes, they have two jobs. They don't have time to date, or they've been hurt before, or whatever the case may be. A lot of this shit, or this kind of this baggage, leave it all behind. And I tell guys all the time, especially when you first meet someone you like, you can just meet them out for lunch. I think lunch is always the way to go at the beginning, if you can, because it's kind of comfortable during the day. It's daylight for one, right? You don't have to drink. You don't have to spend money doing that. Any of that type of things. You can meet, and then go for maybe a cup of coffee afterwards and go your separate ways and kind of figure it out. It doesn't have to be like we have to meet at 6 o'clock and we got to spend 4 or 5 hours together. If you go to lunch, it's fun, it's inexpensive, and then go your separate ways. Now, if you work out, for instance, after you may be like, hey, I work out at this gym after lunch. If you'd like to come and work out with me, come and work out with me. Or, hey, after lunch, I'm going, it's a weekend, I'm going to meet some friends. Would you like, maybe after that, we can go to a festival or just go out for one drink, whatever the case may be. Kind of be in an environment that most likely you're going to be if you keep dating. Because a lot of times the environment you're setting this up for, like going to dinner, right? And then the next time you meet, going to dinner, that's not most likely going to be your life. That's kind of at the beginning of your relationships, but as time goes on, you're going to be together during the day. You're probably going to be going to the mall a lot of times, or again, you may work out together, or during the day you may be doing whatever you're doing. If you're not in sports or something, you may be doing, I don't know what you're doing. Whatever the case may be, that's kind of the life you're going to be leading. So kind of start off leading it that way. You'll get a feel for someone, I believe, a lot better going that route than doing the dinner after dinner. Now, this is where I think men get destroyed, is financially, as they go on these dates with these women, and a lot of times this goes for the women too, you realize at the end of the night, this isn't the guy for me. Let's move on, right? Or this isn't the girl for me. Let's date again. Let's try someone else. As time goes on, you got to realize, especially if you're dating for months, how much money you're spending on these dinners, right? If you're spending even $100, I'm lowballing that. I've discussed this in my past podcast. Look at the end of the month what you spent. A lot of people it's tight for them to make their car payment, insurance, rent, feed themselves, all these things. Again, be realistic what your approach is. But here's the thing, if you can't afford, like I just told you what to do, you have to budget what you can afford. Now, if whoever you're with thinks you're a cheapskate, get rid of them. I'd hate to say that. But a lot of times, I think women, not all of them, but a lot of them expect to be treated a certain way on a financial level, which is cool for them. Then if you can't give that to them, they should just go out and find someone else that does. And in the future, you may be able to do those things. But as of right now, if you can't, don't feel bad about it, for one. And two, start hanging around people that genuinely want to be with you for who you are and the lifestyle you're leading now. Don't pretend you're living a certain lifestyle that you can't afford. Don't go into bankruptcy. Don't get into debt, thousands of dollars in credit cards because of this situation. I see tons of guys do that, especially if they get around a woman that they really like and they want to impress them. I get it. But if you start paying for trips, could be cruises, could be whatever the case may be, and you are, you're really, looks like you're having a great time on the surface, but underneath the surface, you're spending way outside your means, that's on you. Now, I get a lot of times, you also want to live a certain lifestyle with a girl, right? You want to, raise the level of your lifestyle, and you're with a girl maybe that you expect to raise her lifestyle, and that's wonderful. But if it destroys you, how do you think that's going to work out in the future? Especially if you plan on moving in together. And especially maybe you may plan on marrying her. But if you keep getting more and more and more in debt, then eventually, I can assure you, she's going to find out how in debt you are. So I think the most honest approach, again, is just to be yourself. Because most women and most men, when you meet somebody you like, you know real quick, for the most part, where they stand financially. Okay? Not everybody. You're not going to maybe know what's in each other person's bank accounts. Who knows? Or who's wealthy, who isn't, whatever the case. But usually, I would say with a guy, a woman knows real fast by what job he has, or if he's in college, what his student debt may be if he's in college, how much money he's making at his job, what type of car he's driving. I mean, no matter what, we are profiling each other, and you have to be honest about that. So if she sees you're only in a job that she thinks makes, and she's honest and you're honest, you only make a certain amount of money, she should also be somebody who says, hey, I'm not here to actually, keep having you, I understand I want to go for maybe nice dinners all the time and do all these great things and maybe, go to great concerts or travel and all that. Maybe now's not the time, but the future will be. But I don't want to put you under the gun regarding that. And I think a lot of women have the opportunity to do that because a lot of men, I think, are afraid to, look like a cheapskate. But at the same time, a lot of men, too, have to step up and say, listen, like I said, I'll meet you for lunch, or if we go to dinner, we're going to go here. You spend this amount of money, and maybe the next time you meet up saying, hey, you know what, we don't have to do another dinner. We're going to go to my friend's house, they're playing charades. Or, hey, we can go to just a festival that's free to get into. Or, hey, maybe a second date, we go, if you want to go to a movie, you go to a movie. Whatever the case may be, but you have to make sure it's affordable. Don't let it destroy you. I don't mean to get redundant on that, but I think so many guys are in a position and they don't talk about it because everything is getting more and more expensive. And to be somebody, I think years ago too, that dated, we didn't have all these other expenses. Same with women. And I mean on both ends, right? I think things are getting to the point where we have added expenses that a lot of men didn't have in the past. I also think going out, I'm never going to say it was cheap, but I think nowadays more than ever is a lot of things going out. You could, to ring up a $150, $200 tab, when the average guy, not the average guy, a lot of guys are only out there making between, it could be $500 or even $700 a week. But, or even if it's $1,000, whatever after taxes. But if you start spending $200 per meal with a tip, it gets expensive. It gets really expensive. So you just have to watch yourself. And again, I'm not telling you to be cheap. Just be smart, be frugal, because the only one who's going to protect yourself is yourself. And in the long run, a lot of times, as you know, these girls you start first dating, it may last a month, 6 months, 4 months. After it doesn't work out, okay? And then you maxed out your credit cards, or you just spent a lot of money, basically, that you shouldn't have spent. And also, and I've discussed this before, do not ever let anyone you're first dating take advantage of you. That means co-signing for them or borrowing them money. I'd hate to say that. If you start dating someone new and they need to borrow money from you, I don't care what situation, unless you're loaded and you can afford to lose the money, don't get caught up with that shit. All right? Protect yourself. I'd hate to say it, don't trust anyone. I don't care if it's a close friend's friend that fixes you two up. I don't care if it's a blind date. When someone starts coming to you and needing certain things that you can't afford, tell them I can't afford it. Too bad. That's the way it goes. If they all of a sudden say, listen, take me on a cruise, and if you don't, it's over, tell them to hit the road. If they're trying to make you feel like you're not giving them a certain type of lifestyle or giving a certain standard of life that they think they desire, tell them to go out and earn it themselves. Okay, and that goes for women too. A lot of women are dating a lot of loser dudes out there. I'd hate to say it. They're meeting them online. This isn't just for guys, just so I'm clear. A lot of women get taken advantage from a lot of guys. Okay, so don't be fooled either, women. I know a lot of times you may meet a really good-looking younger guy, or just somebody who is falling on hard times, but it seems to be a great guy, and then you end up picking up the tabs, you end up paying for some of the traveling and all this shit, and then it doesn't work out, or you find out they're cheating, or you may find out, who knows, they're with someone else. Don't get taken advantage of from anyone on any side. You don't truly, a lot of times, know who you're dating for a long time, because everybody, I call it, is performing, especially at the beginning. When I met my, who I'm dating, or I'm with now, I live with my girlfriend, Rhea. I've been with her a while. She's wonderful to me. But when I wasn't interested in dating really anyone or getting serious. I was basically 100% myself, and I think that was the best thing I could have done for myself. And I think for the most part, she finally had somebody that said, F you, this is it for me. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I live my lifestyle. Join me. Or, I was going to certain Italian restaurants. I liked more home style, or if I went to certain places, I was traveling to places, she could come with me, and vice versa. But we were exactly who we were. I like to go to consignment resale shopping stores, and she did as well. But she also likes buying high-end stuff in regular malls. But, I was like, this is who I am. You're not, my social media, this is everything you're seeing is exactly who I am, and this is what I stand for. I'm not pretending to be anybody else. And I think she was kind of taken back, because even at times I'd be like, F you, I'm not spending money doing that. I'm not interested in doing that. And not to be an asshole about it, I just didn't. I'm older now, and I just had to and it wasn't even always financial. It was more or less me kind of quit doing things I don't want to do. Now, if I knew she wanted to do something that was, that she genuinely wanted to do, of course I would do it with her. But I had to agree. We both had to agree, and vice versa. I may have wanted to do something, she didn't. Or maybe she was sick of doing the same things I wanted to do, which is understandable. But at least I think for the most part, we genuinely just said, I think when you get older, you learn these things. And this is really more or less for younger people first dating, this podcast. But and this goes even when you first get married too. I think sometimes we get married, we expect to live this certain lifestyle. We expect to automatically have to get these type of cars. We have to buy this type of home. We have to immediately start having children and all these things. Just be aware of every decision you make on a financial level too, that it doesn't destroy you or your relationship, because you never know what's going to happen, right? One of you can lose a job. One of you, if you have a child, can end up having a sick child. One of you can become disabled or hurt or sick. You just, that's the one thing I would tell people, younger people. My mother used to talk about that all the time, is be aware, really not in fear of the rainy day, because it may happen, but just be prepared, right? If something happens. And things aren't always going to last forever, including the people you may meet now and date. Sometimes it may, you may meet somebody that lasts 1 month. It could be 1 year. It could be 5 years. It could be for the rest of your life. But you have to take that every day is a different day, and you're never going to be able to control what somebody else does in their life as much as you think you may be able to, or you never think they're going to change, or they're never going to cheat on you, or they're never going to leave you, or they're never going to pass away, or whatever the case may be. Appreciate the times now more than ever, because they may not be there in the future. So I'm going to wrap it up there. If you get a chance, you might want to check out my YouTube channel. I'm also on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And guys and women, do not get taken advantage of by anyone, all right, when dating. And be very aware. Again, I'm not anti meeting anybody online. I think meeting people online is an amazing thing. Never really did it, but I think it's a great place to start finding people that have a lot in common with yourself. Just make sure you protect yourself. That goes for dudes and women too. I would be very aware of what you're doing. You could get drugged. You can obviously get raped. You could get jumped. There's a lot of different things going on when you meet strangers. But that doesn't matter if I met a stranger or someone meets you in a bar. You don't know them any more than you met them online. That's one of the reasons I really kind of like daylight lunches when you're not drinking a lot of times. It's a safer place, I think. I mean, if you're going to drink at lunch, you can drink. But I think for the most part, when you first meet somebody, if you meet them at lunch compared to dinner, it's just a different environment. You may not get caught up in the moment, because a lot of times at dinner you may end up drinking, or may go out for drinks later, or go to a club. Before you know it, you're at someone else's house. You may end up in a hotel. Something may happen. And I think, again, men and women just starting off slow in the environment they're in is a much safer way to go. All right, take care, and if you're traveling, safe travels.